Hello everyone and welcome to this lecture on plant tissue culture. The course coordinator is Dr. Wasima, who is Assistant Professor, School of Life Sciences, B.S. Abdur Rahman Crescent, Institute of Science and Technology, Chennai. The voice is given by Dr. Shaumen Bera, and in this lecture we will discuss about the basics of plant tissue culture and its applications. So, friends, can you imagine a day when instead of going to a doctor to get your vaccine shots and have a painful experience, you eat a banana or your favorite fruit and get vaccinated? When instead of having lights on your path, you have bioluminescent grass neatly grown on sidewalks? And of course, save your pocket from spending on petroleum for your car? So, how can we bring all this to reality? Yes, we are talking about tweaking plants. Manipulating plants is not something new to man. We have been doing this for ages. Many of us don't realize that if not for intervention of man, our current day watermelon, corn, carrot, banana would not have been colorful, fleshy, soft and yummy. Although we did not really engineer them, what we did was to choose the features that we felt appealing and continue to propagate them in a natural way through selective breeding. Now, this is what we're doing for a long time, long time. And as a norm, that things evolve. The way we approached to increase plant productivity also changed. This great man, Gottlieb Haberland, envisioned that someday man would be able to grow cells in a petri dish with suitable media, check how they respond to external pressures, change features, and produce artificial embryo. With him was born the field of tissue culture, and attempts were made to grow plant cells in dishes, and hence is given the credit father of tissue culture. And slowly we started to identify growth factors that can help us grow cells in a petri dish, which eventually landed with the complete generation of a plant from a single cell in early 1960s. So, in the current scenario, tissue culture is referred to as the growth of cells in vessels using artificial medium. This dramatic change that we saw also added several new terminologies such as explant, meaning from the plant. It could be any part, stem, root or leaf. Even a single cell can help. Here we first remove the cell wall of the plant cells to produce protoplasts. Totipotent when a cell has the capability to generate a complete functional being. A plant cell is unique from animal cells in that it has the capability to give rise to all cell types under appropriate conditions. Plant tissue culture relies on the fact that the plants have a capacity to generate a whole plant from any cell or explant. When cell does not respond to such stimuli, we call it recalcitrant. Now, there is one word that anyone would often come across in plant tissue culture, which is callus. These are cells that are formed when there is a wound in the plant and has the potential to form any cell type. These are undifferentiated, so can be subjected to differentiation by chemical like the plant hormones or by physical stimuli like the temperature or humidity to change them into specialized differentiated structures. Next. Okay. So what exactly do we need to start and maintain a culture? Something that is very obvious is the need for nutrients for the cell to survive and grow in a healthy manner. So these include inorganic salts like calcium, magnesium, zinc, manganese, which are generally required for enzyme activity. Sucrose, lactose as energy source, vitamins, amino acids for general metabolism, plant hormones like auxin, cytokinin, and gibberellin for cell growth and differentiation into different organs. Whether it is solid or liquid media, the ingredients are the same. Difference arises in the presence or absence of agar, which is a gelling agent and makes the media appear jelly-like. These days, we get premix media that are ready to use just by mixing in prescribed quantities of water, such as Murashiga and Scoop media or the MS media, which is named after the researcher who formulated it. One of the most important and crucial aspect of tissue culture is to keep everything sterile so that we do not have other organisms such as bacteria, fungi growing. Remember, the media is a relatively rich media considering the presence of sugar, which can support growth of other organisms as well. If sterility is not maintained, cells of your interest can easily be outnumbered by other microbes. We maintain it by using autoclave, which is an equipment that can maintain high pressure and high temperature, more similar to a pressure cooker at home. For materials that are heat sensitive, we use a filter that has fine microscopic pores through which the liquid is passed with the help of a syringe. And where do we handle these plant samples? In a laminar chamber. These are chambers in which the airflow is uniform, unidirectional, and layered. You would have all experienced this in a mall or huge shopping complexes, where you are welcomed at the entrance by a sudden gush of air that flow from the top. It's exactly the same stuff that is there in these chambers too. Apart from all these, ambient growth conditions has to be provided that include temperature, humidity, and artificial light to mimic day and light. There are chambers that look very similar to your refrigerator but with regulators to control physical conditions. Alternatively, well-established laboratories have culture rooms, that is, an entire room dedicated to accommodate the culture vessels. So, here is a simple outline of how we grow plants in a lab. A small piece of tissue is taken, cleaned and sterilized by standard methods and are grown in media until a callus is formed. Once the callus is formed, we can add suitable proportions of plant growth hormones so that it differentiates into different plant organs. Now, there are four aspects of plant tissue culture. Clonal propagation. I can replicate the same plant unlike normal hybridization where the features can be lost. Here I would get a plant that is identical to the source plant. Next is the germplasm preservation. If I can recreate an identical plant, then this offers a great scope to preserve plants that are very few number, thereby helping in biodiversity conservation. Genetic improvement. Pest resistant, drought resistant, disease resistant or any other customized feature that we want to like the edible vaccine plant or the bioluminescent plant that I spoke about in the beginning. Production of chemical compounds of interest. Medicinal components present in plants can be isolated and produced in large quantities. It could also be an extension of genetic improvement where plants can be used as mini factories to produce raw materials such as oil that can be used as fuels and can be used for treating wastewater. Clonal propagation is the mass propagation of a specific clone and is carried out exclusively for fruits and ornamental plants. Here, the source could be a stem, root, seed, bud can also be used. Only criteria to be looked for is it should be actively dividing cell. primarily done to produce fruits although all throughout the year and for germplasm preservation. For genetically modifying the crops, first we need to identify the trait that we would like to incorporate based on our need. Identify and isolate the gene responsible for the trait. The gene is incorporated in a carrier DNA molecule called a vector, which is usually a plasmid DNA in a bacterium. Agrobacterium, a special kind of bacteria known to infect plants, has been exploited by man to incorporate the DNA in the desired plant. Or the DNA can be directly shot into seeds or any tissue using a gene gun. Using appropriate screening methods, the plant with desired feature is selected for conformation and further propagation. The production of medically useful compounds, the organ that has medicinal property, is taken. Either these are allowed to form callus or individual cells are isolated and grown as suspension and not as a plant. These are then put in huge reactors, which are huge equipments that are used in industry for large scale production. These are then processed to convert the cellular components into final pure compound. So are multiple applications that can be beneficial to man by using techniques of tissue culturing. Today, there are many food products we enjoy that humans have modified over time. It is believed that Nobel laureate Norman Borlaug started the Green Revolution with successful selective breeding of wheat is said to have saved more lives than any person who has ever lived. Let's hope we make use of technology in the right direction to make a positive impact in human lives. Thank you.